Hello, today I'm going to be taking you through the inspection process on an SUV, the top side structural and cosmetic inspection process. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is you want to walk around the vehicle. Let's get a general impression of the vehicle. Is there any existing damage? Are there any signs of prior repair? So let's just take a walk around it, 5 or 6 feet away so you can get the whole car in view. Alright, doesn't appear to be any damage on the vehicle. I see no signs of prior repair. Sometimes it's hard to see that until you're up close. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is our cosmetic inspection. Now the way that we do that, we first walk around the car with our senses, our sight and our touch. So what I'm going to do is look at this front bumper first. I'm going to look for any rough edges, any imperfections in the paint. Down here is a good place to look. Sometimes you get the clear coat is really dry and it feels almost kind of rough. But feel your edges. Look for any imperfections throughout the paint that might be dust or dirt that got into the paint during the clear coating process. So take a look at that. Look for any broken cladding, and when I say cladding, inserts, the grille, lower and upper. See if you've got any damage there that could indicate that, hey, maybe this got damaged along with this bumper and they repainted the bumper. So I'll look at this bumper real good. I don't see anything. Everything feels good. Don't be afraid to pop the hood. Take a look at turn bolts. Does the rubber have any overspray on it? Maybe there's a sticker up here indicating a replacement part or an aftermarket part. I don't see any of that. Everything looks good. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the hood, a metal part. So the first thing I want to do is I want to grab these edges. All right, these edges should feel very smooth. Sometimes you'll get a light drag on an edge, which could be an indicator of previous repair, paint work. Up here, feel this edge. Watch out for chips. Chips can fool you, but just grab that edge. I like to equate it to an ice cube without the coldness. Feels good. I'm looking at the finish as well, looking for any imperfections. Everything looks good. And part of that process is popping this hood. I always like to look at hood bolts. Have these hood bolts been turned? If they've been turned, chances are the hood has been off the car for repair, replacement, or maybe even adjustment. But look at that, it's a clue. Look at the stickers up here. Sometimes replaced parts, they don't put the stickers back, or this backing might be a different color. If you can, pull this down a little bit and look behind the insulation. Maybe if it's replaced, they didn't paint that in there. Okay, so look for clues. Look at your hood latches. Are the hood latches, are the bolts turned on those where they might have pulled them off and put them onto a replacement hood? This hood looks real good. In my mind, I'm saying that there's no paint work on this hood and there's no damage. I see no damage. So the next thing I would move to is the fender. And again, I'm feeling edges on the fender. Your sense of touch is essential when you're looking at a vehicle. If you can master that sense of touch and what an edge feels like when it's been repainted, that'll help you a lot. So I'm feeling the edge, feels good. I don't see any imperfections in the fender. I like to move the light around and kind of just move back and forth, and that sometimes catches your eye of any imperfections. And again, I'm going to pop this hood and look at bolts on a fender. Here's the front fender bolt right here. Has it been turned? No, it has not. There's no paint broken off the edges of the fender bolt. Everything looks good. If you can pull this back, pull these clips out, feel free to do that. Look down in this valley a little bit. Does the valley have any imperfections down in there? And I don't see any. So in my mind, I don't think this fender's been repainted. And we're going to go back and we're going to double check ourselves with a tool called a paint meter, a mill gauge, and we'll get to that step next. All right, so the door. Let me unlock this vehicle. Or we can come to this side too. All right, we'll start on this one. Okay, so this door here, again, I'm feeling edges. Watch out on doors. Chips on the edges, they'll fool you. It'll feel like roughness, but it's just a chip. So feel your edge. Is it smooth? Does it glide? Do you have a little bit of drag? Does it almost cut your finger? That's an indicator of clear coat that wasn't sanded down properly. All right, when you open this door, look at the seam sealer along here. Comparatively, that should match the other doors on the vehicle. And if it doesn't, that's definitely a sign that something could be going on. Look at the finish on the door. Finish looks really good. I don't see any differences in color. I don't see any impurities in the finish or imperfections. I don't see any overspray on the belt molding, none on the cladding down here. And then what I also like to do, I also like to take a look at the hinge bolts. Is there any sign that this has been turned in here? Have any of these bolts been turned or tampered with? In this case, it doesn't look like there has been. All right, so I'll move on to the back door. And again, I'm feeling edges. I'm looking for overspray on moldings. I'm looking down the door for imperfections. Looking at cladding. I see nothing. The edge feels great. This edge feels really good. I'm looking at the bolts on the hinges. Everything looks good. So far, I found no paint work on this vehicle at all. Now, moving to the quarter panel. The quarter panel, same thing. Look for imperfections in the paint. Feel through here. This is what we call the first inverted line. Is there a tape line here? Is there a tape line here? A lot of times when they paint a quarter panel, they'll put a piece of tape right here to protect that from any overspray and paint this way. So you end up with a tape line right here. Feel for that. But feel edges. Feel along this window back here. Look for any overspray on tail lights, cladding, molding. Once you've cleared that, we're ready to move to the hatch area. So I'll pop this hatch, and again, I'm feeling edges. Do I have that smooth feeling? And I do. Do I have any imperfections in this paint? I can't detect any. And again, I pop this and I want to look at bolts. Are my bolts turned? And look everywhere, the components, the shocks of the hatch. Look here. Are these bolts turned? They don't appear to be. Look at the hinges. Do the hinges appear to be tampered with? Or they might have taken the hatch off to replace it or repair it. I don't see any indicators there either. So move through this hatch. Again, feel the edge. Check both sides where the components are bolted in. Look for any overspray on the tail lights, cladding, any moldings. Look at your valley. This is called a valley. Look in here. Does that seam sealer match? Are the spot welds present? They are. Those are all good indicators of no prior repair. All right, so once we're done with that, we'll shut that. And we're going to move on to the quarter panel. Again, same as the other side. We're feeling the edges. We're looking at the finish. One thing I do want to go back to before we leave this quarter panel, when you're here, also look at your bumper. Again, overspray, rough edges, maybe a difference in color, any overspray on the tail lights, the cladding, any misalignment down here where the exhaust comes out, any of these sensors missing, anything that can give you a clue that this might have had repair. And again, I'm looking for imperfections in the finish, and I don't see any. The color match is great. The edges feel good. No misalignment. It looks real good. Back to this quarter panel, again, overspray. Imperfections in the paint. Overspray. Edges are smooth. Edges are smooth all the way around. First inverted line. I have no tape line. Smooth as it can be. Looks great. All right, moving on to the door. Again, seam sealer. Does this seam sealer match the other doors? And it does. Does the edge feel good? The edge feels great. A little rough right here, but that's just a chip. No imperfections in the finish. No overspray on any of the moldings, any of the cladding. Moving on to the front door, same thing. Seam sealer looks good. No overspray. Edges feel good. The finish looks great. No imperfections. All good signs. Now, if you're walking around a vehicle and let's say you notice a mirror damaged or missing, or a molding here, things like, or a grill, things like that fall under cladding. It's kind of like a catch-all for items that are not in our report, so keep that in mind. All right, moving on back to this fender. The fender looks good, feels great, no overspray, edges are smooth, no imperfections. I pop the hood, I want to look at these bolts. Do these bolts match these bolts? And they do. Do these valleys, kind of a dull paint, match this valley? And it does. Those are all great signs. So what I'm trying to tell you, there's not just one thing that tells you if there's prior repair or replacement. You have to dig in, find the clues, and put them all together. So far this car looks great. I've located zero paint work, but now we're going to go a step further. I've got here what's called a mill gauge. This measures the thickness of the paint down to the metal. And when I say metal, either steel or aluminum. I'm going to start here at the hood, and just to show you how sensitive this is, if I put this here, I've got 5 mils. The clear coat and paint down to the metal is 5 mils thick. Just to give you some idea of how thick that is, I'm going to take a dollar bill here. I'm going to put that in the same spot and put it back. I've got 8 mils. So this dollar bill is 3 mils thick. Normally once you pull a baseline, if I had suspected that this hood, let's say hood and fender were painted, I would want to pull a factory baseline as far away from that hood and fender as I can, because what I'm looking for is the factory thickness. I haven't found any paint work here, so let's just go ahead and start here at the hood. 4.0, 5.0, 4.5, 4.5, and that's okay. This meter, you should be within about 2 mils of baseline. This meter, coupled with my senses walking around with touch and feel, I should be pretty accurate on this vehicle, and every vehicle. 4.5, 4.5, 5.0. Hood's good, just as I suspected, no paint work. Let's move to the fender. 4.0, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Fender's good. Let's move to the door. 4.5, 5.0, 4.0, 4.5, 5.0. The rear door. 4.0, 4.5, 4.5, 4.0, and a 4.5. One thing we can't forget about is the roof. This vehicle has a panoramic roof, so most of it's glass. However, you do have some paint up here. Again, feel your edges. Look at your molding. Does it have overspray on it? 4.0, 4.0, 3.5, 4.5, 4.5, right in baseline. Roof is good. All right, rear door. 4.5, 5.0, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Right quarter panel. 5.0, 4.0, 4.0, 5.0. Roof rail. 4.5, 4.5, and a 4.5. These meters are great tools. I just don't want you to rely on them solely. 4.5 and a 4.5. Now, the bumpers are plastic. These don't meter plastic. So it's all you. Your touch and your sight. So take your time on bumpers. If you have to get up underneath the car and look at the backing, maybe look for a different color backing in the front or rear bumper. Look for stickers that might give indications of replacement. Look for turn bolts. Did they take the bumper off? Another good thing to look for, this little tip I want to give you. Let's say there's no license plate here, but yet the bolts are still here. Look in this area. Are the bolts painted white? You know, are the fasteners painted white? That's a good indicator that there was paint work done. They left the bolts in, and it was done on the car, which would mean it's an original part repainted. Okay, move to the hatch. 4.0, 4.0, 4.0, 4.0, 4.0, 4.0. Very consistent here. 4.0, 4.0, and a 4.0. Okay, the meter coupled with my senses, there's no paint work there either. Moving to the quarter panel. 4.0, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, roof rail, 4.5, a 4.5, and the roof 4.5 and a 4.5, 5.0. Everything's good there. Moving in this door, 4.5, 4.5, 4.0, 4.5, 4.5. Front door 5.0, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, and a 4.5. It's looking good. Left fender 4.5, 4.5, 5.0, 3.5, and a 4.0. All right, this car looks great. I have detected no paint work. It's so important that you walk around this car with your senses first. This is a great tool, but it's just an aid to you. So when you walk around this car with your senses, your sight and your touch, that's what makes you a better inspector. Please keep this meter in your pocket until you've gone around and got a general feel for what's going on with the car. Then pull this out to verify your findings. We're going to move into structure now. And the way that I like to break this down is into four sections. We've got 4 topside sections. 1 is under the hood. 2, door openings, right side. 3, the trunk area. And 4, door openings, left side. So let's start with under the hood. All right. So the first thing we want to do when we're under a hood is we want to start in one corner structurally, and that would be your core support into your apron. Now, this is your core support right here. This houses your radiator, and as we can see, it's bolted into the aprons / strut towers right in this area. Okay. So I want to inspect this core support for any damage and flow around this vehicle. And as I'm doing that, I'm looking at different things. For example, extensions from the frame rails. They're right down here. The aluminum piece right there, that's an extension. Go ahead and look at that as you're going. Try not to pass anything up. So we're going through this core support. Everything looks good. My extension looks good. Coming here, I can see another extension right here. I'm looking at that, comparing both sides, and everything looks real good. I'm moving along here, back to my connection flange into my apron / strut tower, and everything looks good. And the whole time that I'm doing this, I'm looking for turn bolts. I'm looking at spot welds. Spot welds make up a vehicle. I'm looking through these strut towers. If you can kind of go back in here a little bit, you can see some seam sealer right back in here with some spot welds. Now the other side should look like that as well. And if we come back here real quick, here's some seam sealer right here. It does. It matches that area of that strut tower. So comparison is very important. Comparison is your best friend out here. All right, so moving back to this. I'm looking in here, I'm inspecting every inch. Turn bolts, I'm looking for overspray on any wiring. I'm going through this strut tower. The apron's very short. Normally aprons on most cars come all the way to the front. Because of the size of the headlight, the aprons are very short in here. So I'm coming back, I'm looking at seam sealer. I'm looking at the top of this strut tower. Everything I can see. Seam sealer should match just like the other side. The firewall. On this vehicle, very tough to see. It's fully insulated. Very tough to see. Not much I can really do with this firewall as far as inspecting it. So I come back and I start back up where I can go here. Here's part of the firewall here. You can see the seam sealer back in there. All looks clean. Everything matches. Back in that corner, that's where your firewall and your apron meet. Moving forward and through this valley, back into the strut tower, the left side strut tower. Everything looks good. Seam sealer matches. And I make my way all the way back to the connection flange where I started. Once I feel comfortable that there's no damage or repair on any structural parts under this vehicle, I'm ready to shut this hood and move to number 2 of the top side structural inspection. Okay. So on number 2, it's door openings. Now, the front door opening, the parts that I need to inspect here would be the A pillar, roof to rocker, the B pillar, roof to rocker, and the outer rocker right here. First, I'm going to visually inspect it. I'm going to look at it for any deflection, any damage, any turn bolts on the strikers, any evidence of overspray anywhere, any evidence of imperfections in the finish. And I'm going to look through here, turn bolts on the hinges, anything that I can see. I'm going to go one step further on this B-pillar, and I'm just going to pull that and look for factory spot welds, and there they are. A lot of times when they section or replace pillars, quarters, those are absent. They don't put the factory spot welds or anything that looks like a factory spot weld back in there, so that's a very good indicator. Okay, once I feel comfortable about this front door opening, I'm going to take my meter and I'm going to meter this jamb. Now typically jambs meter lower than the outside of the vehicle. So if I get in here, .25. Adjust my meter real quick. 1 sec to power up. But normally these jambs, they'll meter lower than the outside of the vehicle. They just put less material in there. So let's check this out. We got a 4.0, 4.5, 4.0. In this case, it's not. It's not set in stone, but that's the norm. 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. This is one step you never miss, is metering jambs. 4.0, 4.0, 3.5, 3.0, 4.5, 4.0, 4.0, 3.5, 3.0, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, and a 4.0. I detect no damage with my senses, and the meter's telling me that everything is consistent. I'll shut that door. Now I'll come in here. And again, I want to pull this rubber back. Let's check out these spot welds, see how they look. A little bit better view here. But here, this is the weld flange in your C-pillar. Spot welds all the way down. Front and back look good. Now if you'll notice, this car has an A, B, and C pillar. The easy way to tell if you've got a B pillar is this. A B pillar is a freestanding pillar that you can wrap your hands around from roof to rocker. It's on 4 doors. 2 doors don't have B pillars. They have an A and a C. The unique characteristic of a C pillar is it's always connected to a quarter panel or a cab panel if you're dealing with a truck. Okay, so I'm going to dive into here. My spot welds look good. No signs of damage. No overspray anywhere. Bolts look good. And I'm ready to meter. 3.5, 3.0, 3.0, 4.0, 3.5, 3.5, 3.0, 3.0, 3.5, 3.5, 3.0, and last but not least, 4.0. Very consistent with the front door opening. I'm very comfortable with the structural door openings on this vehicle. So I'll put this back. And we're going to move on to the trunk area. Shut these doors. All right, now the trunk area. Very important area upon structural inspection. So in this trunk area, the first thing I'm going to start with, I'm going to look at these valleys again. Is there any indicator that maybe this has been hit and repaired? Because if it has, there's a good chance that you've got damage going into your rear body panel, maybe trunk pan. These are also a D-pillar, what's called a D-pillar. The D-pillar runs from the bottom to the roof. So I really want to look in these valleys really well. Look at seam sealer. This is seam sealer. Look at spot welds. We got seam sealer here. Everything looks very consistent throughout this vehicle, which is a good sign. Okay, once I'm comfortable with that, I want to try some vehicles. It's very tough. You've got this hard lining that has components bolted to it or wires. It's very hard to get out. So I'm going to look at what I can in here. So I'm going to pull this up, and again I've got this lining. So I'm going to pull this back the best I can, and there I go. I got a great view of my rear body panel, which is down and back. Rear body panel looks factory, seam sealer looks factory, and I see factory spot welds. That's a good sign. Everything's the same color. Trunk pan right underneath it, same color. Now the next components that I want to look at are the wheel houses. Now the wheel houses or wheel wells are located here. You've got an inner and outer wheel house. They're behind these covers. I can't get these covers off. So what's my next step? Well, my next step would be, I'm going to look at them. Remember I said they're wheel wells. So my next step would be to look at them from the outside. You got to be resourceful. You know, everything's not easy, and sometimes you just got to figure it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the outside of this vehicle, and I'm going to look in here. These are the outside of the wheel houses. And I'll look up in here, my strut towers / wheel house. You also have strut towers here. And I'm going to look for any imperfections, any deflections, any sign of repair. Now the important thing about doing this is really all you've got here is comparison. Everything looks great, but I don't know that it's factory. So I'm going to look at everything I can in here, and then I'm going to walk to the other side. And this side should match. And everything looks spot on. I feel very comfortable with this car. I have no paint work. I've indicated none. So I feel very comfortable with this. If I felt I needed to pull all that lining out, I would. It's a tough job, but if you feel you need to do it, you've got a hatch, bumper replaced, rear body panel might not look factory to you. That's something you need to do. All right. So moving on, that's number 3. Now we're to number 4, door openings again. I want to stress this, we're on an SUV, so we've got a D, C, B, and A. Unique characteristic of a C pillar, it's always connected to a quarter panel or a cab panel on a truck. Unique characteristic of a B pillar, you can wrap your hands all the way around the pillar from roof to rocker. All right, so I'm going to dive into these door openings. Again, I'm looking for any signs of damage, signs of prior repair, looking at bolts. The must, metering, 3.0, 3.5, 3.0, 3.0, 4.0, 3.0, 4.5, 3.0. Very consistent side to side. 3.5, 4.0, 3.5, 3.5, 4.0, 4.0. And a 3.0. And again, I didn't look for any damage or signs of repair, but I'm going to do that. No deflections. Everything looks factory. Bolts don't look turned. Everything looks good. Meter's right where it should. When I'm done with that, I'll shut my door. I'm ready to enter my report now. Follow these important steps through a vehicle. Remember, it's quality, not quantity, and speed will come.